Welcome to another video with PulseFeed 360. We have a very vital thing to share with you today. Stay with us, watch to the end, and enjoy. Let's get right into it.
On the early morning of January 3rd, 2026, explosions shook Caracas, Venezuela, as United States forces launched a large-scale military strike on Venezuelan territory. Within hours, U.S. President Donald Trump stunned the globe by declaring that Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores had been captured and flown out of the country following the strikes. The operation marked a stunning escalation in U.S. military involvement and threw Latin America's geopolitical arena into the void. Tensions between Washington and Caracas did not erupt overnight. Throughout 2025, Trump's administration steadily ratcheted up pressure on Venezuela, accusing Maduro of presiding over a dysfunctional economy plagued by corruption, narcotics smuggling, and human rights abuses. In March, Trump signed an executive order imposing steep tariffs on countries importing Venezuelan oil, aiming to choke off Caracas's chief economic lifeline. By mid-year, actions became militarized. U.S. forces engaged in what officials described as an anti-drug campaign targeting suspected cartel operations in the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific Ocean. These strikes killed over 100 people and targeted vessels alleged to be trafficking narcotics. Trump claimed these operations were part of a broader effort to disrupt drug smuggling, but critics questioned their legality without congressional approval. Trump even authorized the CIA to identify land targets inside Venezuela linked to alleged drug networks, a move that showed a significant shift from maritime interdiction to potential direct conflict with Venezuelan infrastructure. Maduro responded publicly by denouncing the pressure as illegal warmongering, accusing the U.S. of seeking control over Venezuela's vast oil, gold, and minerals. Despite claiming willingness to engage in negotiations on anti-drug trafficking, he maintained a defiant posture. At around 2 a.m. local time, residents in Venezuela's capital heard multiple explosions and saw low-flying aircraft over strategic military sites, including the Fort Tayuna complex and La Carlota Air Base. The sudden bombardment threw Caracas into chaos. Hours later, Trump took to Truth Social to declare the mission a success, stating that Venezuelan President Maduro and First Lady Cilia Flores had been captured and flown out of Venezuela by U.S. forces in what he described as a large-scale strike conducted in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. The operation reportedly involved elite units and air support and followed months of military buildup, including the deployment of U.S. warships and thousands of troops to the Caribbean. The response to the U.S. action was swift and deeply polarized. Venezuela's government condemned it as a blatant act of aggression and imperialist violence, rejecting U.S. claims and demanding proof of life for Maduro and his wife. Officials declared a state of emergency and called on citizens to resist what they termed an illegal invasion. Regional leaders joined what I tag the international anthem of criticism. Governments in Colombia, Cuba, Iran, and Russia denounced the strikes, with some calling for emergency United Nations action and accusing the United States of violating international law. Inside the United States, officials allied with Trump celebrated the removal of Maduro and claimed it marked a new dawn for Venezuela. Critics at home questioned the absence of congressional authorization and raised alarm about the precedent set by executive military action without legal mandate. Trump has indicated that Maduro and Flores may face legal proceedings in the U.S., including potential prosecution on charges related to narcotics or terrorism. Their transfer out of Venezuela has already sparked debate over jurisdiction and international legal standards. The implications extend beyond Caracas. The capture could destabilize Venezuela further, risk a humanitarian crisis, and reshape alliances throughout Latin America. Refugee flows, economic disruptions tied to oil markets, and diplomatic rifts are possible outcomes as nations reevaluate their stance toward Washington and Caracas. The dramatic removal of a sitting head of state by U.S. force places Trump's second term into uncharted territory. For the first time in decades, a U.S. president has authorized unilateral action that led to the seizure and removal of a foreign leader without a declared war, drawing comparisons to historical interventions in Panama and Iraq, but provoking even broader controversy. This is one of the biggest global political developments of the decade. The world is watching as Trump, Maduro, Venezuela, and the question of imprisonment and legal reckoning grip international headlines. Subscribe to PulseFeed 360 for real-time analysis, expert breakdowns, and comprehensive coverage of how this story affects global politics, international law, oil markets, regional stability, and more. Your next update is arriving now, don't miss it.